Hello, my name is Tim Shoebridge. Welcome to this video. This is just a very brief follow-up to my previous video on a new piece of software that I developed called PPG, or Polyphonic Pressure Generator, to use its long title. Now, thank you so much for all of your comments, all of your support, and also for all of your suggestions. There were some amazing suggestions in there for how to make this software even better than it is. Now, I must admit that there have been a few things that I've wanted to add to the software. But I've kind of held back on it because at the end of the day, I think it's a bit of a balancing act between adding loads and loads of functionality and getting something that really can do so many different things versus a piece of software that is simple and straightforward and easy to use. And it's always a difficult decision as to what to add and what not to add. However, I have made some changes, and I'm going to show you on the screen now what I have done. So there you can see, this is the original version, the version that I showed you just a couple of days ago. And here is the new version, and you'll see that there are some changes. Now, the first changes are that instead of a simple switch to switch between the different triggers, we now have push buttons. You can toggle them on and toggle them off, which means that you can have 1, 2, or 3 of these different modes of triggering active at the same time. They all are active if you want them to be. So you could have a foot switch for most of the time, but there are occasions when you actually want to hit the keys a little bit harder and use some velocity. So you could add some velocity in there as well. It's entirely up to you what you want to do. You now have the choice with these 3 different ways of triggering. So that's the first change that I've made. The second change that I've made is to move those 3 rotary encoders that are at the top right, slop, tracking and velocity. I've moved those into the envelope section you can see here. Now, they do really belong to the envelope section. These 3 controls change the envelope in different ways. They'll lengthen or shorten the times of the phases of the envelope, and they'll also affect the overall magnitude of the envelope. So I think putting them in that envelope section is the best thing to do. And one of the reasons why I've done that is to free up this top right hand corner again for a new control. And it's a big red switch, as you can see here, and it's called mode. So what we can now do with PPG is we can use the envelope, just like I showed you a couple of days ago, or we can, instead of using an envelope, we can use monophonic aftertouch messages. So, there are many keyboards out there that support monophonic aftertouch. What my PPG software will now do for you, if you want to, is it will convert those monophonic aftertouch messages into polyphonic aftertouch messages, and it will target the specific notes only that you trigger. So it's a really smart way of using monophonic aftertouch keyboard for polyphonic aftertouch effects. Let me show you with a hands-on demo how it works. So let's just remind ourselves what monophonic aftertouch does, what effect it has. Here's my monophonic aftertouch keyboard on my Nord synth here. I'm not going to use PPG software at all. This is what monophonic aftertouch does. So we get all of that lovely expressivity of being able to push down on the keys, gradually let them off, all wonderful, but we are affecting all of the keys that are held down at the same time. That is the limitation of monophonic aftertouch. Now compare that to what I'm about to do. So there, I'm using the mono aftertouch of the keyboard, but it's only picking out the notes that I want it to pick out. It's not affecting them all. So I'm using, if we see on my screen here, I'm using MIDI CC as the triggering mechanism, and it's set to my sustain pedal. So I'm holding down the sustain pedal, I'm pressing that key. Now I let go of the sustain pedal, and whatever other keys that I hold down are not triggered. You don't hear the effect until I start to press down, and when I start to press down, that very first key is triggered and will create polyphonic aftertouch messages. So I'll do it again. Play a couple of keys, hold down the sustain pedal, play a third note, let go of the sustain pedal, some more notes, and as I press down, just that one is the one that's affected. So you use the triggering mechanism as you would with envelopes to pick out the notes that you want to pick out. And then when you're ready, when you push down to get your monophonic aftertouch going, that's when I will convert those monophonic aftertouch messages and the amounts that go with them into polyphonic aftertouch messages purely for the keys that you have picked out to be triggered. Now, if that sounded complicated, it's not really, but I've given you an even easier way of using monophonic aftertouch to trigger polyphonic aftertouch messages. And for me, even with a real polyphonic aftertouch keyboard, what I tend to find is that 99% of the time, it's the last note that I play is the one that I want the accent. It's the one that I apply polyphonic aftertouch to. So, I'll play some notes, I'll get a chord going, a nice sustain, and then I'll pick out individual notes afterwards. So it's always the last note with me. I mean, very rarely is it anything else. So what I've done is I've provided a little switch down here called affected notes. It can either be single or all. By default, it's set to all. So when I say all, if I hold down sustain pedal right now and play all three notes and then let go of the sustain pedal, it'll be all of the notes that end up getting polyphonic aftertouch messages. I'm going to switch to velocity threshold and I'm going to put it at a minimum. So I'm going to get every note triggered that I play. You see the active LEDs on all the time, but I'm going to switch this to be single. So only one note is going to get polyphonic aftertouch, and it's going to be the last note that I play before I press down on the keys. Let me demonstrate it to you. Not doing any triggering, I'm not got a key switch going on, I'm not playing on the sustain pedal, I'm just playing the keys. I really like that. It's very, very liberating. I think that functionality inside PPG really kind of rounds it off. It makes it a really versatile tool. You can use envelopes if you want to. You can loop envelopes. You've got the ability to add some variety to those envelopes with slop control, tracking and velocity as well. But now you've also got monophonic aftertouch, which PPG will turn into polyphonic aftertouch messages and will target the specific notes you want to. And with easy mode, setting affected notes to single, it'll always target the last note that you've played before you press down on those keys. So PPG, I've just been modifying it. There's a couple of little bugs in it which I need to fix. I'll get those done as soon as I possibly can, and then I will put it forward for approval on the Cherry Audio website so that it'll be available hopefully in the next couple of days. I will put a message up on Facebook and on YouTube once it is there available for you. I really do hope that it's useful to you, that you think you might be able to use it, and it gives you some flexibility and some expressivity, and that is a real word, I looked it up, for using a synthesizer that does support polyphonic aftertouch when you don't have a polyphonic aftertouch keyboard. Thank you very much. Until the next one, as always, thanks very much for watching.